From problems with intellectual property to suspicions of spying, today we look at what you didn't know about Huawei. Number 9. Corporate Chronicle. Spawning out of Shenzhen in the Guangdong province of South China, the multinational tech giant known as Huawei Technologies was founded in 1987. It began with manufacturing phone switches before pursuing further products in the telecommunication market. The company eventually expanded to build telecommunication networks, manufacture communication devices, and provide equipment, consulting, and operational services for businesses outside of China. Huawei was founded by former deputy director of the People's Liberation Army Engineering Corps, Ren Zhengfei. The company's beginnings were based in reverse engineering foreign technologies to give China less reliance on imported technology. Number 8. Expanding horizons. The first decade of Huawei's business went relatively well as the company had staff of 600 in their research and development department by 1990 and grew from the ground up, serving hotels and new enterprises in rural regions and small cities throughout China. Then in 1993, they caught their first break with the introduction of the most powerful telephone switch in the country at the time. But things really started to pick up for Huawei when in 1996, the Beijing government championed the company as a domestic technology leader and began restricting access to foreign tech rivals in their favor. At the same time, Huawei would start looking at opportunities abroad, first working with Hong Kong company Hutchison Whampoa in 1997, then establishing a research and development center in Bangalore in 1999. As the telecommunication services company continued to extend its reach, it would eventually surpass its own domestic sales numbers with revenue from foreign contracts in 2005, establishing itself as an international multi-billion-dollar powerhouse. Huawei was listed among the global Fortune 500 for the first time in 2010 on the basis of more than $21 billion in annual sales. Number 7. Intellectual accusations. Though the business may have risen to prominence with great success and profits, Huawei has faced a number of obstacles, especially in the realm of intellectual property. In 2003, Cisco Systems, a Silicon Valley-based telecommunications hardware and equipment manufacturer and rival to Huawei, sued their Chinese rival for allegedly copying their source code. The case was dropped after Huawei removed the code, manuals, and interfaces they were accused of taking from Cisco. But the aftermath found Huawei playing the victim. The Chinese company, along with local media, framed the legal dispute as if Cisco was a bullying multinational corporation, according to Cisco's corporate counsel. The damage to Cisco's reputation in China outweighed any benefit achieved through the lawsuit, and so both companies deemed the legal settlement to be somewhat of a win. This was only the start, though, as a 2010 lawsuit from Motorola named Huawei as a co-defendant in a trial surrounding allegedly stolen trade secrets, though the Chinese company would flip it around and actually receive a sum when settling. Then, in 2014, T-Mobile would file lawsuits against Huawei under the claim that they had stolen technology from their Washington state headquarters. The tech in question was actually T-Mobile's smartphone testing robot, Tappy, and the court proceedings revolving around this situation weren't resolved until 2017, when Huawei was court-ordered to pay $4.8 million in damages to T-Mobile. Number 6. Espionage concerns. Recently, United States politicians and officials have voiced suspicions that devices made by Huawei pose security concerns due to their relation to the Chinese government and People's Liberation Army, drawing on the history of its founder and the public appreciation shown for the company by the government. To protect against this fear, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S. has kept a close eye on Huawei's various deals with American companies, watching as deals with companies like Bain Capital, Sprint Nextel, and Three Leaf Systems all fell through. America isn't alone with these worries, though, with countries like the United Kingdom, India, Canada, and Australia all finding issues with the tech company. Each of these nations has blocked Huawei employees, both current and past, from interacting with companies within their borders, citing suspicion of espionage as their chief motivation. Thorough investigations by the U.S. government, as well as other national governments, have claimed to find evidence of Huawei leaking information with backdoors in their networking equipment. The Chinese telecommunication firm has repeatedly denied such accusations, but this didn't stop any of these nations from gradually ceasing business relations over the last decade. Number 5. Foreign restrictions. In the past 2 years, Huawei has come under the scrutiny of the U.S. federal government again, but not just for potential espionage. reports of possible economic sanction violations by the Chinese tech company were brought to the U.S. Justice Department in 2018. They band together with the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control and the Department of Commerce to investigate potential dealings with embargoed nations like Venezuela, Iran, Syria, and North Korea. In addition to these alleged affronts, some of their other cross-border transgressions include supplying optic fiber equipment to Iraq during Saddam Hussein's reign, and most recently, reports from Reuters connect Huawei to Syria. They've even been accused of aiding a notorious extremist group before an Indian federal investigation reported they found no connection between the company and the faction, though the U.S. remains suspicious. Huawei's greatest transgressions, though, seem to have come from their assistance in various surveillance programs. Said to be one of the key suppliers of information to China's Great Firewall of China Internet Censorship Initiative, the telecommunications company has also been suspected of selling technology to Russian manufacturer Bulat and Iran. These dealings have landed the company in hot water, especially one employee in particular. Number 4. Executive violation. While founder Ren Zhengfei has been the mind behind much of Huawei's success, it has been his eldest daughter, Meng Wanzhou, which has filled the role of the company's face. Professional and proficient in her role, Meng has led the tech business at company events when announcing financial results to reporters and in launching partnerships throughout the Western world. Among these jobs, though, she has served on the board of Huawei's partner company, Skycom Tech, a business which Canadian officials have found to have done business with Iran directly. This poses a major problem as the United States has economic sanctions against Iran, and through her work, some financial institutions have been duped into violating them. Because of this, while changing flights in Vancouver, Meng was arrested by Canadian officials on December 1st of 2018 at the request of the U.S. federal government. The 46-year-old finance chief was brought in specifically on allegations of conspiracy to defraud multiple international institutions. Meng was granted bail 10 days later for a whopping fee of 10 million Canadian dollars, but required electronic home surveillance and had to turn over all of her passports as a result. As she remained in Canada, American federal prosecutors proceeded to formally indict Meng on 13 counts of bank and wire fraud, misappropriation of trade secrets, and obstruction of justice. The Canadian Department of Justice waited until March 1st, their deadline, to decide in favor of extraditing Meng to the U.S. However, her attorneys have since filed lawsuits with the Canadian government, citing flaws in the manner in which she was arrested and extradited, and claimed her arrest to be an abuse of power and process. Her current case is now pending and set to be stretched out with a court appearance scheduled for September 2019, an extradition hearing scheduled for January 2020 with a predicted end date of October that year. Number 3. Marketing and mistreatment. In addition to such egregious offenses as those listed earlier in this video, Huawei has also run into their share of troubles regarding basic customer service and marketing. Multiple times in the last few years, the telecom company has promoted its exceptional new camera capabilities, often providing photos and promotional material to customers as evidence of the supposed upgrade. However, on a surprising amount of occasions, these photos have actually been the product of DSLR cameras or even stock footage, essentially misrepresenting the smartphone camera's true potential. In one instance, Huawei P30 was said to be equipped with a new AI feature meant to take photos of the moon, claiming the camera can adequately capture the beauty of the moon along with fine details like moonbeams and shadows. It was revealed later, however, that the feature actually just uses existing photos of the moon and inserts them into the photo. Huawei has also been known to make transactions difficult for some clients, with the 2007 U.S. Army Strategic Studies Institute report telling of customers receiving full paid trips to China and being gifted with presents, all of which would have then been used to extort the client. Employees aren't even immune from their transgressions, with Huawei being accused of treating Chinese workers better than Indian staff at their Bangalore facility, of abusing a loophole to rout labor laws, and of providing work conditions that led to the passing of one 25-year-old employee in 2006. Number 2. U.S. ban. Due to all of the issues the United States has had with Huawei in the past decade or prior, the U.S. government has taken steps to halt Huawei from doing business with Americans. First, in 2018, President Donald Trump signed an act that barred the government from purchasing any hardware from Huawei In response, Huawei sued the American government under the claim that they had failed to produce any evidence to support its restrictions, citing a lack of due process as well. However, this didn't slow down the campaign against the company, with President Trump signing an executive order in May of 2019 to give the government power to halt any transactions with foreign adversaries when it comes to telecom tech. U.S. companies were barred from doing business with the Chinese business, and almost immediately entities like Google, Intel, and Qualcomm ceased business with Huawei. Number 1. Google's concerns. This cease of business has Google worried, as the inability to provide security provisions that were once standard with these products would allow for much more dangerous devices to enter global circulation. Without Google's Play Protect software and the oversight of the Google Play Store, users all over will run the risk of having their device hacked thanks to malware and viruses. From there, all it takes is someone from the United States to send sensitive information to one of these phones unwittingly, and a whole new can of worms is opened. Google continues to attempt the argument, but for now, Huawei isn't getting any access to assistance from U.S. businesses.